We got a great game tonight in Los Angeles to end out Week 12. It's the Harbaugh Bowl between Jim Harbaugh and the Los Angeles Chargers and John Harbaugh. Oh, you know what? Actually, we don't need to talk about the game. The Ravens are a 2.5-point favorite. Congrats, Baltimore, on your 8th win of the season. Well done.
You know what I like about this game? Two quality teams matching up in the NFL, because you don't get that in college football quite a bit. You saw that on Saturday when Ohio State ran roughshod over Indiana. You won't see that tonight probably, because you got two good football teams going toe-to-toe, equally deserving to be on the field. For my idea of this football game tonight, though, with Jim Harbaugh, I don't think so, man. We'll go with John. I think his younger brother takes this game tonight.
Yeah, no doubt you do. You love the spread. 2.5 points. The Flock have already won. Baltimore was a favorite last week in Pittsburgh. I think they won that game. Baltimore was a touchdown favorite on the road against Jameis Winston in his first start. I think they won that game too.
Yeah.
Colorado was a 3-point favorite on the road.
Version.
In Arrowhead against the Jayhawks, I think they won that game.
What's Cleveland's strength?
I think they won that game.
I wonder if it's better than Indiana's. I think it's better than Indiana's.
Well, based on the NFL, yeah, I think it certainly is. It's good to know. Penn State was an 11.5-point favorite in the Twin Cities against the Golden Gophers. They won that game by 14. Oh, no, it's just a point. Oh.
Yeah.
All right. I just want to make sure I was reading results
better than
correctly.
20, losing by 20.
Reading results.
Signetti, man. I'm telling you, look, the credit for Indiana is they're like David Copperfield, winding up in the playoff. Awesome. Fantastic. There we go.
Yeah. Again, you're an Indiana guy and you don't even know it.
If they can lose to Purdue, man, this would be the single greatest show of all time.
For sure. No doubt about it. I'm not going to argue that. You lose to a team that hasn't beaten an FBS team all year, brother. You got a lot of questions to be answered.
Who did they beat?
Indiana State.
Who did Purdue beat?
Indiana State.
Oh, my goodness.
The Sycamores.
Whoa, State. They're going to win the state championship.
Maybe so. I don't even know if I'll be back after the break. Crazy comments in the feed. A lot of people. Reacting to Donnie and I having a good old time on this Monday morning. Again, let's get to Monday Night Football to end out week number 12 of this National Football League regular season. The Ravens have already won a football game based on the projected odds. They are a 2.5-point road favorite tonight in Los Angeles. The Cowboys lost yesterday to the Commanders, and that is certainly what happened. The Titans suffered yet another crushing defeat yesterday against the Texans. That certainly happened as well. The Harbaugh Bowl, though, DRS, what a time it's going to be tonight in Los Angeles.
It's going to be a good time tonight. It's a good football game. Here's the thing I'm worried about with the Chargers. I like the Chargers, but if we're not going to have a full-strength Chargers team, a couple pass rushers being down, and also Ladd McConkey, boy, that's really going to put the onus on Herbert to actually win this football game, or maybe just a ground and pound from J.K. Dobbins. The fact that I like the Baltimore Ravens coming in this game, the one thing you can attack them is in the secondary. So if you're a little bit limited in your passing game, I think that's going to affect it. And also, let's keep in mind, the Baltimore Ravens really need this victory. And they watched on Thursday night the loss for the Pittsburgh Steelers as a chance to seize that moment and sort of climb back into the race in the AFC North. I think that plays into it. Also, the total at 50.5. It feels right. Even though the Chargers' MO is, we don't really want to get into a shootout with you. I think they might have to against the Baltimore Ravens, because that offense here with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, I think they're going to put up points tonight. It's up to the Chargers to try to chase them down too. For me, as long as you're keeping it under 3, for me, I think the Ravens are the better side, because I think they're just coming in a better spot tonight. Now, if Ladd McConkey's fully 100% and he's raring to go tonight, that could be a difference maker. But I just look pound for pound, player for player in the spot they're in tonight. The Ravens probably energized off that loss from the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think it gives them the slight edge tonight.
7-3, the straight-up record for the Los Angeles Chargers, who have covered in all 7 victories, and yet in all 7 games, DRS, they have been booked, or all 7 wins, rather, they have been booked as the favored side. The Chargers have only been a dog twice this year, which might be a little bit surprising. And in those games, as an underdog, they have not covered the number in either. Both of those games under a total as well. The Chargers have gone over in 2 consecutive games, but only over 3 times in their 10 NFL games this season. As we know, Baltimore has been a dead over team. 11 games this year for the Flock, over in 9 of 11. This is not the highest total of the season for Baltimore. They have played in multiple games 50 and above. This is by far the highest total of the season for the Chargers. Last week on Sunday night, total 47.5 against the Bengals. That game did go over. And that's been the interesting thing, DRS, with Los Angeles. Early in the season, Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman told you exactly what they were going to do. Establish the run, take the onus off of Justin Herbert, who had to do everything for this LA franchise in his first 4 years in the National Football League. They were going to move that responsibility to the O-line that was now going to be developed and the running back. In the last few weeks, though, it's been Herbert slugging that football and the Chargers playing in much higher scoring affairs. So to your point, even if Baltimore does start to score, I actually think the Chargers team we have seen the last few weeks can keep pace.
Yes, they can keep pace. They can, because Johnson is actually, it looks like he was going to be a bust year one. Hey, he's not playing good football. He looks like he's that deep threat, big play guy you can have. But you also need that balance of Ladd McConkey, who runs those intermediate routes, has looked quite good his rookie season. There's a lot of components that I really like, because the one thing you know about the Harbaughs, we want to get a fullback out there, put our hand in the dirt, and get out there and get after it. So you know coming into this game, you're not looking at the Chargers saying, like, they can't compete this way. I think they want to be fast and physical with the Ravens, but the one thing we do know is you don't really attack the Ravens on the ground, which is what Jim Harbaugh would love to do and what he's done many times this year with a couple different running backs in the backfield. I think if you have to be aggressive early, which you need to do for the Chargers to sort of get this game script of, okay, let's get the lead by throwing and maybe we can run later in this game. But I just look on the opposite side. You have two legitimate, like one guy trying to win the Offensive Player of the Year, and that's going to be Derrick Henry. I think he has a pretty good night. But also, maybe the true MVP comes out and shows in Lamar Jackson tonight, because I look at his passing numbers and think he can throw the 2 touchdowns and go over his passing prop number tonight. I think we get more of a passing game tonight from both teams than a running attack, which both teams probably would rather have the running attacks get after it.
That is very interesting. The Flock have been booked as a favorite in every single game, all 10, since the season debut in Kansas City. They have, of course, won 7 of those. They are 5-5 against the number. Plenty more from Monday Night Football when our third and final hour begins after the break on the early line. Welcome to hour number 3, live right here on this feisty Monday morning. You can hear it in my voice on the early line on SportsGrid. He is my former friend, Donnie Rightside, and I am
Red leather,
Ben Stevens.
yellow leather. Get warmed up, baby.
Listen,
let's get warmed up.
We can get a little bit heated at one
Does
another.
It make good TV?
And still, it does.
Makes great TV,
Come on,
man. You let the feelings out. You blow through segments here. You yell at each other. You get it out, man. I feel like I'm back like 15 years ago. My online styles right now, Ben. Got the juices going today. I love it.
I feel like I'm the big man battling it out with Right Side in a lively debate
Plenty of those,
at
man.
this. All right, so as we get you set for this third and final hour, we will talk with the Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chow, up next about the injury analysis that you need, ending the Sunday slate in the rest of the home stretch of this season. Proper perspective on this Monday with Tom Vecchio in just a little bit as well. And, of course, we continue to break down Monday Night Football tonight in L.A. The Chargers and the Ravens, John Harbaugh and Baltimore against his brother Jim Harbaugh and Los Angeles. DRS, what is the best bet for Monday Night Football? We had to hear from the people. We find out now for Monday night in Fade the Public. At SportsGrid on Twitter, what is the best bet for Monday Night Football? The Ravens as a slight road favorite, laying 2 and a hook now. The Chargers as the home dog, over 50.5, a pretty steep total. Or under that number, sub 50. The first time the Chargers have played with an over-under at 50 or higher this year. Most of the public, DRS, the Ravens laying 2.5 on the road tonight to win their 8th game of this season.
Yeah, 39.5% exactly here on the updated numbers through a couple hundred votes. I wonder what that poll would actually be if that was Ravens -3, Chargers +3, how many votes that would absolutely swing, because you're basically picking the team to win the football game by at least a field goal, not more than a field goal. And I think that's a big difference. The talent discrepancy, I do think, goes towards the Ravens, the better and more talented side, but that doesn't win football games, particularly on the road against a quality opponent in the Chargers. It's up to Herbert. So sometimes you take a look at like betting environments of what you have. How do you think the Ravens win this game? Is it Derrick Henry, 20 carries, 133 yards, and 2 scores? Or is it actually Lamar Jackson's arm and him scrambling there? Same thing with the Chargers. Is this really a game where J.K. Dobbins rushes 20 times for over 100 yards and a touchdown? Or against that Ravens fast and physical front seven, is it more of an air attack at this point? So even if you're saying, you know what, it looks pretty even cut down the line for me, maybe you dip into that prop market, but I'm going to keep it real. Like all week long, I looked at that line and said, you know what, this is a pretty good Ravens spot here. Lamar Jackson, absolutely a terror on turf. I don't know who catches him tonight. I'm going to lean with the former 2-time MVP tonight to pull this one out by at least a field goal in the Ravens.
And DRS, you know what's really interesting about this football game, as you have said, you would expect it to be a grind it out on the ground type of contest. It's what Harbaugh and the Ravens want to do with both Lamar and, of course, the King and Derrick Henry. It is what Harbaugh and Greg Roman, the former OC, by the way, in Baltimore, and the Chargers want to do as well. But is it really? Now, the Ravens, DRS, are the second best rushing defense in the National Football League. The Chargers might know that the Ravens are the worst passing defense in the National Football League and maybe can get them through the air. The Ravens also are a team that have played in so many overs this season, so we could expect them to do the same. The Ravens so far this season, 11 games, 7-4, over in 9 of 11. I wonder, DRS, as we look at the total here, does 50.5 feel just a little bit high? Like you're paying the premium for the over-under tonight? Or do you think we see a ton of offense in Los Angeles?
No, it's a good point you bring up, too, because that 50.5 seems about right here. It's not like, hey, 53.5, it's too high, but they still wanted to put that number above 50 because there are two thoughts that can happen in this game. Both of these teams want to impose their will. Both understand what the stakes are, because if you take a look at this game, Ben, maybe if we played it in week 2, a little bit more air out, not really understanding what the MO of each football team is going to be this season, and playing things out, new plays get put into the equation. These guys have watched 10 games of film on each other, and you're going to line up in this game where two brothers know each other like the back of their palm to be able to line up. Again, I do think it's up to the Chargers to start out early and be aggressive. But we know Harbaugh. He would love nothing more than a 7 to 8 play drive to open the game, eat up 6 minutes, and maybe even come away with just a field goal to set the tone for this game. But I want to see the aggression out there. I'm not so happy with going over the total in this game because, again, Alex just explained it, where two really good football teams on a primetime environment. Let's see what happens, but we're not worried about any weather conditions. Both teams come out somewhat healthy outside of that lad McConkey, who might be a game-time decision tonight. So for me, I probably would lean more the under, but still take the Ravens as the favorite.
Yeah, so I'm having a difficult time really looking at this spread. To your point, DRS, 3 points feels like it could be very critical. But we have mentioned the Chargers now as a favorite in 8 of 10 games. They have won 7 of those 8. They have covered in all 7 victories. They were a slight home favorite last week against the Bengals on Sunday night at home. Second consecutive week and a primetime marquee matchup for the Bolts. Second consecutive night that SoFi Stadium is going to host a primetime game to end out a slate in the National Football League. But as an underdog, twice this year for the Chargers. Week 3 against the Steelers, following Sunday against the Chiefs. Now, the Chargers were banged up in that game. No covers, no wins. 0-2 both straight up and against the spread. The Ravens have been favored in all 10 games since that season opener in KC. They have won 7, and they are 5-5 against the number. Of course, a big story tonight is the brothers facing off. John Harbaugh and the Ravens, Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers. Most notably, DRS, these two brothers met, of course, way back in the Super Bowl. In fact, they met twice in that 2-year span for Jim Harbaugh. They met in his first year in San Francisco in 2011. That game in Baltimore, the Ravens got the best of the Niners, 16-6. And, of course, in the Super Bowl the following year in 2012, John, the better of, I believe Jim is his younger brother. I'm pretty sure about that. John got the better
John the older
of
brother?
his brother. John's the older, right?
I think Jim's the younger. Jim's the older, right? He looks older to me. I don't know. Yeah, check on that one. They got were they within like a year or two anyway? John is the wow. That's crazy.
John is older.
Holy moly! Yeah, that's wild. About that.
Another win in a debate for Ben Stevens this morning, if I do say so myself. DRS. Let's talk about those quarterbacks right now. If we do expect this to be an aerial attack, look at Justin Herbert's prop. 261 and a half. In the first few games this season, for the Bolts, 237 yards or less. In the first 4 games this year for LA, less than 180 for Herbert. But a number that in 3 of the last 4, he is skied over. 4 of the last 5. And here's what's been pretty crazy about Herbert this year. 13 touchdowns. All right, not that many, but 13 touchdowns, DRS, to only 1 interception. The onus has been off of his right arm, and he is playing some highly efficient football.
Yeah, let's say 261 and a half. Let's call it like 250 right now. We'll just use that as the demarcation line. If you think the Chargers can win this football game with him throwing for less than 250 yards, I don't think that happens. So conversely, on the opposite side, he could throw for 250 plus, and they can still lose this game. So sometimes you try to break it down to its simple element, like how do you think this game plays out? I don't think that the Chargers run all over the Ravens front 7 and he just mixes in 25 passes in this game. I really believe that he has to continue on that streak. And there's probably maybe no better thrower of the football than Herbert. Again, it just comes down to, does he have all his weapons on the outside? That's what I'm looking for. He's got to throw if they want to win.
Live right here on this Monday on the early line on SportsGrid. I am Ben Stevens. Donnie Rightside is over there on the right, and the man in the middle, TV Tom Vecchio, here to provide that prop perspective for Monday Night Football in the Harbaugh Bowl, the battle of the brothers tonight in Los Angeles. Jim and his Chargers, John and his Ravens tonight inside SoFi Stadium. Vecchio, before we dive into the game, a thank you and a welcome, as always, for being here on this Monday.
Of course. Thanks for having me. We are in for a great game tonight. Like you said, it's the Harbaugh Bowl. You're the first person to ever report that because I didn't know that. No one talked about it coming into this week. But, theatrics aside, this is a massive, massive game in terms of the AFC standings for the wild card. The Ravens are kind of reeling right now. They need to right the ship. And I see this game leaning towards the under. Again, these teams need to figure things out. I have a very specific approach when I want to come to this game. And I ultimately do think this is probably one of the tougher primetime games that we've had because the strength of both teams on offense, at least, is running the ball. And that's the strength of the opposing defenses. So we actually could be in for a bit more of a passing game time, which is not something you necessarily expect from these offenses.
Yeah, so Vecchio, let's start with those. Oh, go ahead, Donnie. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No, let it rip, man. We were hot right there. I got a good laugh.
I would never interrupt you. Never interrupt you.
Now, if we were looking, Tom.
Would never.
There's eye in this game up because I completely agree with you the way it sets up on the defenses. So my eye goes to Justin Herbert, 263 and a half yards. For me, I use the number with 250 with Ben saying, I don't think the Chargers can win this football game if he throws for less than 250. If we look at the quarterback perspective between these two guys here, who are you aiming for tonight to have a lot of use out of that arm?
I really like Herbert tonight, and this goes along with the game script that I'm anticipating, and so I would specifically look to Herbert. I think his yards are fine, totally fine. You could certainly go there, but I actually like him specifically over 21 and a half completions. Last week versus the Bengals was the first time this season his completion percentage was under 50%. So we have to take that into account. Next up, the Ravens. They're only allowing 77 rushing yards per game. That's the second best in the league. So what are we looking at from the Chargers offense tonight? It's like, okay, let's kind of reel things in. We may not be able to move the ball on the ground, Let's get Herbert back going. Let's be an efficient offense tonight, right? He doesn't have to throw for 350 yards, whatever, but let's get the ball moving. Let's pick up some first downs. Let's get the completions. We still see the Ravens 10th in the league when it comes to total blitzes this season. So we have Herbert looking to move the ball efficiently. And we have to worry about Ladd McConkey. He's listed as questionable, but getting the ball out quickly, picking up some easy first downs, I think will be a path for the Chargers to win if they're not able to move the ball on the ground. So again, buying into like, oh, this is actually an important game regardless of the Harbaugh Bowl being a thing. Like, these teams need to win for the standings. So let's have Herbert show the quarterback that he's really evolved into this season. He started off the year super slow, but this is the time for him to be a very effective quarterback at moving the ball.
And oddly enough, Vecchio, despite going over this passing yards prop, in fact, 279 or more in 4 of the last 5 games for the Bolts, he's only actually had 21 completions or more just once in that 4-game sample size. On the other side, Lamar Jackson, still the second best price to win the NFL MVP award, the 2-time NFL MVP winner. As we look at this game and we see a total of 50.5 with that spread now at just 2 and a hook, we expect points. We expect a tight and competitive game. What will the flock need out of Lamar in that offense to keep pace in L.A. tonight?
I think the easiest route to go would be the combined passing plus rushing for Lamar. They may not be able to move the ball as effectively as some may assume with Derrick Henry. So we're going to see a little bit of pressure on Lamar. He should be able to move the ball, I would say, somewhat decently in the air, as we saw last week. With the Bengals offense, he has the options on offense. They're fully healthy. They're ready to roll. But ultimately, I like his rushing plus passing. That's always the best way to go because he's going to have the designed run plays. He's going to have enough passing. And if they do fall behind, which I think is certainly possible considering how they've struggled over the past few weeks, the passing yards will be there for him. So unders on Derrick Henry are very tough to take, but that may be a route to go. And Justice Hill in the passing game could actually be a solid option for the Ravens tonight.
We saw a lot of points yesterday in SoFi. This game, once again, will be played in SoFi. It's great. At the end of November, not have to worry about any weather conditions here and have a perfect playing field. We'll see how it plays out. Now, some of the equalizers that could end up and say, hey, ground control is key. Derrick Henry tonight, 84.5 is his rushing prop on the FanDuel Sportsbook right now. On the opposite side, J.K. Dobbins at 47.5. Are there any running backs that you want to attack more than others here tonight, Tom?
I would lean towards the under on Henry rushing attempts. I think we can get to his yards just because how often does he break off a big run for 30 or 40 yards? Like the yards, I think, are always a little bit easier for Derrick Henry. So I would certainly look there. I think the odds on the running backs and really just the touchdown odds overall are really interesting because Henry is the only player sitting at minus money when everyone else is sitting at plus money. And we're dealing with a game that has a 50 over under. So if you are expecting points tonight, outside of Henry, we're getting some decent odds to great odds on a lot of these players. So this is actually a revenge game for not just J.K. Dobbins, but also Gus Edwards, the backup running back for the Chargers. Now, I don't want to be buying into that too much, but both of them should be playing a decent role. Again, this is a very tough matchup defensively in terms of the Ravens' rush defense being awesome, but I expect a good balanced usage out of Dobbins and Edwards tonight, and maybe looking to Henry under on attempts, not just yards.
Derrick Henry in 6 of the 7 wins for the flock this year, at least 92 yards on the ground, but he has not broken through 70 yards running the football the last 2 weeks. Here might be my favorite bet for the night, Vecchio. You talk about some value with an anytime touchdown price in a game that is expected to flirt with 50 total points. J.K. Dobbins has scored a touchdown in 6 of the 7 L.A. wins this year, 8 touchdowns in those 6 games. If L.A. can keep this game close, I think Dobbins might hit Pater. But we are all, I think, expecting maybe some more passing yards tonight than you might anticipate with the Ravens facing the Chargers this season. So, Vecchio, if that is the case, we've talked quarterbacks. Now let's talk their top targets and the receivers for tonight. Which players on either side get your attention?
Yeah, really liking Will Dissly, the tight end for the Chargers. Again, Ladd McConkey is listed as questionable. McConkey comes in with a 22% target share, which is the highest on the team, but again, listed as questionable. Dissly's at 3rd on the team at 17.3%, so he's really not that far behind, even if we do see Ladd McConkey play. We've seen Dissly go over this number in 3 of the last 5 games with 40-plus. 2 of those games were at 80-plus. When you see the Ravens, they've allowed 736 receiving yards to tight ends. That's the 3rd most in the league. So, again, Disley with a modest to low A-dot average depth of target kind of buys into like, oh, Herbert's going to get the ball quickly. He's going to be efficient tonight. They don't need to take massive shots downfield. Sure, they'll be there at times, but I think moving the ball, getting those first downs, staying away from 3rd and long will be the plan tonight, and Disley will play a key part in that.
Now, Tom, we talk a lot here on TV. They see the graphics. With the people out there on the radio, let them know once again your top props for tonight in this Monday Night Football showdown.
Yeah, besides Disley over 39.5, the Herbert over 21.5 completions, really liking going to Rashad Bateman over 37.5. He's been over this number in 6 out of 11 games. We could see a decent role for Mark Andrews, who has been up and down. Zay Flowers, I've been kind of hit or miss on this and this season, which is maybe just a personal thing where the games that he has 100-plus yards, I'm betting on the under. The games that he has 11 yards, I'm betting on the over. So I just want to simply stay away from Zay Flowers because he's burned me a few times in the past. But Bateman does play a good role, and he really is going to be that, I'm going to say, number 2 option in the passing game for them. Deontay Johnson isn't playing a role overall in their passing game thus far since he's been acquired. Maybe there's a little bit of Mark Andrews, maybe there's a little bit of Isaiah Likely or Justice Hill, but Bateman really should be that solid number 2 option for Lamar tonight.
Yeah, we could see some yards through the air tonight in SoFi in the Harbaugh Bowl, as Vecchio was the first to let us know, between John Harbaugh and the flock and Jim Harbaugh and the Bolts. But to Vecchio's point, an important game for that AFC playoff picture in potentially the wild card chase. Right now, the Chargers would be that top wild card team at 7-3. The Ravens back by just a half game in that loss column at 7-4. The Chargers a dog just twice this year, 0-2 against the spread. The Ravens favored in 10 consecutive games since the opening season defeat against the Kansas City Chiefs. Tom Vecchio, as always, we appreciate the time. Thank you for the prop perspective on this Monday morning.
Of course. Thanks for having me. I will see you guys tonight for the pregame show.
Pregame show, postgame show, halftime show. This guy never stops. We continue the Monday Night Breakdown next. The Harbaugh Bowl on this Monday night in Los Angeles between Jim and his Chargers, John, the older brother, and his Ravens. Baltimore, a favorite tonight on the road in Los Angeles, laying 2.5 points now, the updated number on that spread. Total still remains north of 50 at 50 and a hook. DRS, let's just start with the numbers. Because, again, whether it's 3 or 2.5 in favor of the flock, the odds makers are expecting one of the best games of this week, one of the best games of this month, of this season in the NFL. If it is going to be decided by 3 points or less, and we might see 50 combined points on the scoreboard, that's an instant classic of a Monday night game, and then you add in the narrative of this brother battle. Just how good do you expect Monday night to be inside SoFi Stadium?
I think it's going to be a great game. I do. And the one thing that we hate to watch as handicappers is, when is this weather going to hit? Case in point, you watch that game against Cleveland and Pittsburgh. It looked great in the first half, and it was a disaster in the second half. And from my angle in that game, hey, why not take the over in the first half because the weather's coming in? It was the exact opposite. Nobody scored in the first half. Everybody scored, and it was terrible weather. So setting this game up, it's interesting to see that 50.5 number, which we expect both of these quarterbacks to have decent prop numbers here to sort of get after it. But if we're looking at the any touchdown market tonight, Ben, Derrick Henry's a minus 210. He's always going to be that high. The expectations are he scores. J.K. Dobbins is a minus 105. Remove the 2 running backs from the equation. We're expecting some fireworks from the quarterbacks. Everybody. Great numbers, Ben. Ladd McConkey, plus 145. Zay Flowers, plus 180. Quentin Johnston, plus 210. Take a look at Mark Andrews, plus 240. Disley, plus 310. Like, this might be one of the markets you really want to attack because if the anticipation is for what? Around, let's just say, 6 to 7 touchdowns with that total, somebody's got to get in other than the running backs here. And you're getting a darn good price for those guys.
Yeah, for sure, DRS. I think it's a really good point that Vecchio made that you are also alluding to there. 50.5 is that total in only now 2 guys, as J.K. Dobbins' price has moved ever so slightly into even a slight minus money component, even at plus 140 or less. It is those 2 running backs. And that's what's so interesting about the breakdown and the preview of this game. If I were to tell you Baltimore and L.A., you think, all right, they are going to establish that run. Derrick Henry, 150 and 2 scores against this Chargers defense. that also is top 10 in defending the run, and the best scoring defense entering the Monday night finale of week number 12, only allowing just a tick over 2 touchdowns per game. The Ravens are an elite defense slowing down the run, second best in the NFL, although Dr. Chow did let us know that front seven perhaps a little bit more banged up for Baltimore than it has been at any other point this season. The Ravens are not good at slowing down scoring on the other side. Baltimore, one of the worst scoring defenses in the National Football League, bottom 10. And as you look at that total, DRS, it is why it is so high. The Ravens have played to the over in 9 of 11 games this season.
And it feels like we have the ability to get some big plays. A market that I don't explore all that much, Ben, is the longest pass catchers of the game, or let's just say longest completion of the game by either team. If we're looking at Justin Herbert, one of the best arms in football, you know that play action is going to be there against that vulnerable secondary of the Baltimore Ravens. On the opposite side, Lamar Jackson has had some fantastic football games, not only throwing for multiple yardage, throwing for deep shots, and more importantly, a lot of touchdowns. So maybe the juice comes from me where you think it's going to be a ground and pound game, which both of these teams want to, but sort of playing opposite that by saying, you know what, I got 2 really good quarterbacks with chances to light up some secondaries here, and maybe that's the angle to play in this game. And once again, late November, not worried about any weather conditions here. So it's like, no, Ben, he had him deep, 40 yards down the field. The wind blew it out of bounds or toward the center of the field. Not the case. These two guys can really launch it.
DRS, like I did a couple of weeks ago when it was the Ravens and the Bengals on that short week Thursday night game, I parlayed the 2 quarterbacks, Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson, to each throw 2 or more passing touchdowns. They did. I kind of look at this spot again with the expected offensive output and think the same. Justin Herbert over his passing yards prop now at 263.5 in 4 of the previous 5 games for LA. They have been airing it out so much more, but still not expecting all of that much out of Justin Herbert. Lamar Jackson, right? 7 wins this year for Baltimore in the last 5 and 5 of the last 7, but all of the previous 5. Lamar Jackson has thrown for at least 280 yards and has 3+ passing touchdowns, DRS, in 4 of those 5 wins. And the Ravens are still a slight favorite on the road tonight. You've really kind of talked me into it. The only debate that I will give you credit for on this Monday, I think it's an aerial attack tonight in Los Angeles.
It could be. And also, again, starting with the quarterbacks here, so many times you only think of Lamar Jackson as, oh, he's the great runner. Take a look at the last 3 or 4 games here for Justin Herbert. 4 carries for 49 yards. Then he had the 3 carries for 2 yards. But after that, 9 for 32 and a touchdown, 5 for 65. So banged up to start the year, right, Ben, with that ankle injury. Oh, no, is that going to affect him? He looks really good running the football, so I'm going to have to intact what I used to, play in the previous times. Primetime games, take both of the quarterbacks over their rushing props and parlay it together. This might have a legitimate chance because, again, we look at Lamar Jackson, but don't keep out Herbert. Guy's running here, man. He is.
For sure. I thought Tom Vecchio made a great point about Rashad Bateman again in those 5 recent wins for Baltimore where Lamar has thrown for at least 280. And for the 5, Bateman 54 yards or more. His prop 39 and a hook. J.K. Dobbins has scored in 6 of 7 games for the Chargers. That price now minus 105. You don't have to pay nearly as much of a burden as you do for the juice for the king to find Pater at minus 210. I will say, though, DRS, Derrick Henry, at least 92 yards in 6 of 7 wins for Baltimore this season. And you see that prop, but maybe it's not a Derrick Henry night, and Baltimore still comes out with a victory in Los Angeles.
Exactly. You're not getting any bargains here. And that's sometimes what the shop for hey, that's a legitimate number they can get. You're basically saying Derrick Henry is going to get the century mark tonight, which, again, isn't a bad bet because he typically gets at least around there and a touchdown. But you see the anytime touchdown market minus 210. You see the carries. Got to get to 18. If that game script is there, he'll have a lot of chances to run. And also, the Baltimore Ravens on deck on a Monday night game. The Eagles already flying back to the East Coast. The Eagles and the Ravens next Sunday will be fantastic. Ooh. Let's see if could they save Henry a little bit for next week? Nah, probably not. They're getting after it tonight, no doubt.
It's going to be a great game. DRS, enjoy the money line. Have a very happy Thanksgiving. I guess I'll talk to you next week, man. It's been a long,
lose my number.
Long
after
time.
that argument today,
even
lose
when
my
we get
number.
mad at each other,
lose my number. Lose my number. Lose my number.